user experience is a huge issue for onboarding new users.
NFT people, they went straight to using a browser extension. It's not the most secure thing in the world that you're having a browser extension that has all of your life savings.
Bad user experience of hardware was blocking user experience is part of the security. So you can turn your old mobile phone into a hardware wallet.
People are saying that Solana is going to die, but we definitely doubt that.
Welcome back, everyone. My name's George, and you're watching the Next Billion podcast. Essentially, we're talking to the builders, the creators, the entrepreneurs that are building the devices, the companies, the things to onboard the next billion people into crypto. And today I'm joined by some amazing people who I've just met, but also I use their products as well. So we're talking to Lixin and Bobby from Keystone Wallet. Thank you for joining me today, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. So we're talking a little bit about Keystone. Today we're going to be talking about wallets. We're going to be talking about wallet security. We're going to be talking about Web3 and maybe also a little bit of the journey of building a company as well in this space. I might firstly throw it over to Lixin. Maybe you want to introduce yourself, a little bit about how you got into crypto and how you started your journey at Keystone.
Okay. Thank you so much, George. My name is Lixin. I'm the CEO of Keystone Hardware Wallet, and my journey of crypto is a little bit different from others. First, I know Bitcoin back in 2009 when I was in college, but I just knew Bitcoin at that time. I didn't do anything about Bitcoin. I didn't do mining. I didn't buy any Bitcoin at that time because I just thought Bitcoin was cool, but I strongly doubted that the consensus can be reached. So I see Bitcoin as a super wild social experiment at that time. And then after 4 years, you know that 4 years is like one cycle for Bitcoin. After 4 years, it comes to 2013. I was running another startup in China, and I have two co-founders, and both of them are from Stanford University. They're Chinese and they're from Stanford University. So they checked a lot about what's happening in the States, especially for technology side. And they told me that, Lixin, you should check out Bitcoin. And that's the second time I came across Bitcoin. And I was surprisingly found that the consensus seemed to be reached at that time. So then I was...
It hadn't died.
Yeah, then I was down to Bitcoin at that time. So that's also the first time I bought Bitcoin. But my career didn't come across Bitcoin at that time. I just bought some Bitcoin. And then another 4 years went on. So it came to 2017. At that time, I was incubated by one of the most famous miners here in China because that was a bull market. And we strongly feel that there's a strong need for hardware wallet. And you know that in China, a lot of people, they do hardware. And my career before making hardware wallet, I was working on drone. And also we're working on the United States market as well as the European market. So a lot of Chinese has strong supply chain support for making hardware. So at that time, we strongly feel that we can make something which has much better user experience compared to other hardware wallet. So at that time, we also strongly feel that the bad user experience of hardware was blocking user from using a dedicated hardware to protect their crypto assets. So at that time, we decided to make a hardware wallet. But our first generation was not a big success because we were targeting the miners here in China. The awareness of self-custody was not very strong. So even for some of the miners, they're just using centralized exchanges to store Bitcoin and other crypto assets. So for our second generation, we were targeting the Bitcoin maximalist in the States mostly. So they're talking about security and privacy every day. So at that time, we chose that community because we strongly feel that if we can convince the maximalist community, then we are very strong on the security side. And then we're confident of convincing other communities. So we work on Bitcoin community for almost 4 years, 3.5 years. So we were dedicated to Bitcoin community, and we talked to all the Bitcoin maximalists. We asked them why you are not satisfied with other hardware wallets and what we can deliver for the Bitcoin community. And we also co-authored a BIP, which is Bitcoin Improvement Proposal for Bitcoin multisig. And we support Bitcoin multisig very well. And that is how we got into the Bitcoin community. And also at that time, MetaMask pitched us. They were saying that, do you want to do something for Ethereum? But at that time, we were very into Bitcoin, so we rejected MetaMask.
This is 2017 era, right? Like 2017,
2019.
Okay.
So we totally missed the DeFi summer starting from 2020.
Yeah, that's when things really kick off, right?
Ethereum really kick off. We refused the MetaMask. But then in the middle of 2021, we figured out that we should do something for Web3. At that time, I was totally convinced by DeFi, by DAO, and by all the stuff happening in the Web3 community. So then we started to pivot some of our development resources from Bitcoin to Web3. And then we talked to MetaMask again. So even though at that time we were pretty new in the Web3 community, MetaMask greenlighted the integration. So our Web3 journey started from MetaMask integration. And this also leads to another big difference from our product and other hardware wallets. So we strongly feel that in the future that every software wallet should have a hardware wallet which is perfectly compatible. And also after the incidents about Slope wallet, we are talking to software wallet founders from time to time. They are losing their whale users to hardware wallet. So right now, those software wallets desperately want some kind of help from hardware wallet to secure their users' crypto assets. And we have integrated with software wallet, not only on desktop, but also on mobile. And we're also closely talking with Phantom Wallet and other top software wallet in other ecosystems. So this is the difference between us and other hardware wallet. And also user experience is a huge issue for onboarding new users. So for other hardware wallets, they have solved, we call it a technical security problem very well. But we also see user experience is part of the security. Because for some of my friends, they bought other hardware wallet, but then the hardware wallet is so hard to use and they abandoned that. That's why we introduced a 4-inch touchscreen to the world of hardware wallet. And right now we're still using the 4-inch touchscreen. And even that is very expensive on the supply chain side. And also it's much harder for us if you wanted to have a touchable screen with 4-inch size, because right now a lot of mobile phones, they are like 5-inch or even bigger. So it's very hard to do sourcing for 4-inch touchscreen. But we insist on that because we feel that user experience should be part of the security, and that's very important to onboard the next billion. And also that's helping the community to secure the crypto assets.
Absolutely. And I'm interested to talk a little bit about the strategy you mentioned there. But just moving back, you mentioned the Solana ecosystem and the different wallet integrations. Maybe this is a good opportunity to introduce Bobby as well. Bobby, maybe just a little bit of background about yourself, how you got into crypto, and maybe talking on the Solana side, like why do you think, or how do you go about looking for new partners in new chains like Solana or like Cosmos or anything like that? Like, what do you look for? Are there any metrics that you want to see? Where do you see the future, like the Web3 versus the people that just want to, buy some coins and then keep it safe? Is there a difference to the use case there as well? Maybe, yeah.
Sure, thanks, George. So, hi guys, I'm Bobby, and I started the crypto world like back to my high school. I started mining Bitcoin back to 2009, but unfortunately, I just lost to them because I lost the key. Then I rejoined the community like back to 2016 with the birth of Ethereum. So I started realizing, wow, this ecosystem or this community is still alive. So let's check it out. So I just get into this thing, and then I started the work there. So that's a bit my background. And then back to Solana, I think for George,
I think Bobby cannot express his love for Solana within 1 or 2 sentences.
Oh, that's great to hear.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm a big fan of NFT. So, Solana is always famous for its NFT release, etc., and it's
really big. Like this last year, I think was probably, we can say, is the year of the NFT. Maybe before that, 2020, 2021 was like DeFi, but I think 2022 was really when NFTs like started to take off.
Exactly. The trading amount of NFT on Solana is even bigger than Ethereum. So that's the one thing I love Solana. Another thing is it's high performance. And this is also the key point that we find with our partners, because we think high performance is something that attract next billion people into this ecosystem. You have to be high performance. You have to, you have to increase your TPS, etc., etc. So I think Solana is one thing that definitely match our goals. So we came to Solana and we started the integration with Solflare first. So right now, Keystone can be directly connected with Solflare on both the extension and its mobile version. And right now, we are going to start the integration with Back Wallet, which is quite hot on Solana blockchain these days. So we have both announced the partnership back to like 2 weeks ago. And then we're going to start the integration within 2 weeks. I think it's going to happen next week. So yeah, we're going to start the integration with Back next week. And back to another big player on Solana is Phantom. So even though we haven't started the integration with Phantom, but we keep actively talking to them and we have a very good relationship with the Phantom team. Even though Phantom is going to be multi-chain wallet in few months, but we still hope to start the integration from February and get it done within 1 to 2 months.
That's amazing. Like, so a lot of those wallets you mentioned, Solflare, Backpack, and Phantom, like that's the top 3 wallets that a lot of people use on Solana. Like, you see that across all of the apps. And I think the approach that you guys are going towards, where it's like partnering with the existing wallets, I really like that, because I think a lot of these wallets, like they already have users. In the case of Phantom, like we know that they have, I don't know, I think 5 million, 6 million users or something, people that have signed up and used it, or at least that they've commented on. So they have an existing user base, right? But I think the majority of people are using a lot of these, browser extensions, and it's literally just that, right? It's not really the most secure thing in the world that you can think of, having a browser extension that has, maybe thousands of dollars and all of your life savings or anything like that. So I think the partnership aspect there is pretty cool to see. And there's also some timelines there. Was it maybe, did you focus more on the Solana ecosystem recently, or is this something that you've been looking to do this for a while, or is this like the last 6 months that you're sort of looking to integrate more with more partners?
Actually, we've been working on Solana ecosystem for almost 1 year. So we're not new here, but it really take us a lot of time to convince those top wallets to integrate us. And I'm sure that, George, you must heard about the rumors that are going around out there. So people are saying that Solana is going to die or something, etc., etc. But we definitely doubt that, and we're still contributing to this ecosystem because we really have some interesting observation on this ecosystem. We've been talking to different developers from Solana Labs directly, and we see a very interesting common points is that they are the unique developers. Most of them are only doing developments on Solana, which means we have a strong reason to believe that this ecosystem is independent enough. So back to 2016 with the birth of Ethereum Mainnet, it still has issues, but it gets less criticized on that because it's not because the issue it's not worse. Sometimes it's even worse than what Solana has right now. But it's only because they get less people participating in those activities back to then. But right now, in 2020, 2022, right now, more people are participating in those crypto activities and they put more money into it. So people are criticizing Solana, why you guys are doing this, why you guys doing that. But it's not because the issue is worse, but it's only because people are putting more focus on these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just to echo Bobby a little bit. So for our team, almost all the core members, we entered the crypto community before 2017. So we've been through those kind of price up and downs for many times. And those kind of price up and downs won't affect our decision-making process. So yeah, if we evaluate an ecosystem, the most important thing is we evaluate that are there many hardcore developers or builders in that ecosystem. That's the most important thing that we evaluate.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes sense as well. And I think a focus on the developers and the builders is a good perspective to have. I think that's one thing which Solana does really well. They have a lot of these hackathons around the world. We have one coming up very soon, I think Lex Month in Turkey as well. Usually these hackathons, they get maybe 3,000 people that turn up to these events, many of them developers. There's usually hundreds of different things which people are working on. And they have these hackathons all around the world. I was at the Singapore one recently. There was the one in Lisbon as well at the Solana conference last year. So all around, which is great to see, right? So, I think seeing that enthusiasm, that's something, really good to see activity, right? And as well, I want to maybe also switch back to maybe the product as well and the design. And some of the cool stuff. So I have my Keystone right here, and it's the Pro version, I think. I had to get the Pro version, of course. But for those who haven't seen my Twitter threads, I have about like 8 or so hardware wallets. I've had a Trezor. My Trezor, I think, is the first batch of Trezors that ever went out. I have these ledgers and all sorts of different wallets from all over the place. But I've been trying out the Keystone for the last, say, I think month and a half. And if anyone wants to see my comments on that, basically it's all good. Check it out on Twitter. I can link it later. But maybe just some of the unique things which struck me with this. Now, number one, Lixin, you mentioned the touchscreen. Now, this is something that was quite unique. So that was the first thing, was the touchscreen. We've also got the fingerprint reader.
Yeah.
Also, I think that's probably a unique addition as well as the big one, which is the use of QR codes.
Yeah.
And the thing which struck me, when I was using Keystone for the first time, was that there's no need to plug this and connect it to the computer. And that was the usual workflow. I as a user was used to. It's like I buy the device, I load my keys and store it and blah, blah, blah. And then I connect a USB cable or I, do something, right? But that wasn't the case. So maybe we can talk a little bit about like what were the design decisions that went into making the current, Keystone Pro and why did you decide to go with the touchscreen, the fingerprint reader and also the QR code path?
Okay, just as I mentioned, the touchscreen is a huge plus for the user experience, and we see user experience is part of the security. And for the QR code, in the early days when we were designing, we wanted to design a perfect hardware wallet. And I was a hardware product manager. So I did a lot of interviews with a lot of hardware users at that time. So most of them were using Ledger or Trezor at that time. One of the key questions I asked them was that, what's the most anxious time when you're using Ledger or Trezor? So the answers were pretty aligned. And the most anxious time was when they are trying to write down the recovery phrase. That's the first anxious time. The second most anxious time is when they're plugging the USB cable into their device. Because when it's unplugged, they always know, okay, my private keys are there and no one can get access to that. But when they're plugging the USB, they are super anxious because they don't know what information is sending into my hardware. Because even at that time, most of the users, they cannot read the code. And we know that Trezor was open source and Ledger was not fully open source. So they don't know what's getting into their hardware.
That's a good point. I might just add, like, that's something that I've come across people as well, because often hardware wallets will say, oh, the keys never leave the device. And then when you plug it in, people go, well, now it's connected to the computer, and isn't the computer connected to the internet? So can someone get in? So like that is something in the back of people's minds.
Yeah, so at that time, we want to create air-gapped security. So we wanted to fully air-gap your recovery phrase, even when you're using the hardware. It's never connected to a laptop or to your mobile phone. And then we come to the solution of QR code. Security is very hard to convey. So what we can do is we're trying to make our product as transparent as possible. And QR code is a huge part for making everything transparent. So you can verify everything. You don't need to trust it. If you're paranoid, you just verify everything. So this is also loved by the Bitcoin community because Bitcoin maxis, a lot of them are super paranoid. They want to know everything about their hardware wallet, about what's getting out of their hardware wallet. That's why we have the QR code. And also we have the fingerprint sensor because we were mostly interviewed hardcore users. And usually they have multiple hardware wallets. They have a hardware wallet at home. Some of them even put a hardware wallet in a bank deposit box. And some of them, they use hardware wallet out of their office or out of their home, for example, in a cafe or in an airport. So for those kind of scenarios, they were really paranoid about typing in the password. So they were asking that, can I use my fingerprint to authenticate a transaction? So this is also part of our design thinking or product design philosophy of the product.
Absolutely. I think it's very neat. I like it because usually if I have to verify a transaction, often, people are used to hardware wallets with tiny screens and little buttons and that sort of thing. But it's very easy just to use the fingerprints and the QR code. You mentioned as well, just briefly, open source. And I think that's an important part. And I noticed it's on the Keystone website as well. You talk a little bit about being open source. What's the background there? What are you guys contributing to open source and that sort of thing? Because I think one of the key sort of things which a lot of people are quite paranoid about is, do I trust this company, this wallet? And if it's not open source, I just have to hope that they're good at their job and that everything's secure. But yeah, what sort of are you doing in the open source world at Keystone?
Okay. I think for open source, the product, that's a very basic thing that hardware wallet should do. For example, we not only open source the application layer of the device, we also open source the firmware of the secure element of the device. So we are the only hardware vendor that do this in the community. And we are also contributing other stuff to the open source community. For example, our QR code standard is fully open source. So we also have a friend company who based in Switzerland. And what they do is that they just implement our QR code standard into a mobile app. And with that mobile app, you can turn your mobile phone into airplane mode and use the QR code on your mobile app to communicate with MetaMask. So you can turn your old mobile phone into a hardware wallet and to leverage the feature of QR code to communicate with MetaMask. So we're fully open, not only like open source our product, we're also open source the standard to the community. And also another part of importance is that we see open source is not enough because, for example, there's still some kind of black box in a wallet, which is something that user cannot verify. A good example is the generation of recovery phrase. So we know that in the process of generating the recovery phrase, the first step is the device will help you to do some kind of random number generation, and then use that random number to generate your recovery phrase for you to write it down, and then from recovery phrase to your private key. So that random number generation is a huge black box for all the wallets, not only for hardware wallet, but also for software wallet. So what we do is that we allow the user to roll a dice. If you are paranoid, you wanted to generate a random number by yourself, you can roll a dice 50 times and input that 50 numbers from 1 to 6 into our device. And then we use an open source algorithm to generate that random number, which is generated by yourself, and to generate a recovery phrase. So 50 times, then it comes to 12 words. 100 times, then it comes to 24 words for the recovery phrase. So we're not trying to like open source everything, open source standard. We're also trying to minimize the impact of the black boxes in the hardware wallet, in the mechanism of the wallet. So again, those features were asked by the Bitcoiners. They are so paranoid. They don't trust anything. They want us to deliver the most hardcore security features for them. And that's where we come from. And that's something we're super proud of.
Yeah, absolutely. I have some friends who would fall into that category and they roll the dice and they have a lot of dice and that sort of thing. So that's really cool to see that you're catering to them as well. One other thing I noticed was that not only do you guys partner with third-party wallets, the software wallets like Solflare on Solana and the others, but you also have your own app wallet as well, right? And maybe can talk us through like what was the reasoning behind having that as well? Like, was that a strategy decision that you guys sort of made, or was it something that you wanted at least this base level functionality and, who knows what'll happen tomorrow with third-party wallets, that sort of thing? So was there sort of a strategy reason that you guys made your own, wallet as well? I have that as well on my phone. It links to the Keystone, which is great to see. So yeah, and multi-coin as well.
Yeah. So basically, I think there's a trend for that. So first, we integrate with MetaMask and Solflare because we want to serve the user that wanted to use our hardware wallet and the software wallet to experience those on-chain applications like NFTs, the DEX, decentralized exchanges. They wanted to experience those on-chain applications. So right now, most of users, they are still using hardware wallet plus Solflare or plus MetaMask to experience on-chain applications. But after the FTX thing, a lot of users, they are moving their long-term assets to a hardware wallet. So one of the most important thing is that in 2023, we're going to put more resources into our own mobile app, but that app is targeting people who want to experience on-chain application, who want to have a one-stop solution for manage their multi-chain crypto assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Litecoin, Dogecoin, this kind of thing.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. And I think that's a good point that you make about the different types of users, because certainly for so long, I remember, since we've been all around since the old days, right? But it used to be that a hardware wallet was a place that you just put your money and that's it kind of thing. And now with all of these Web3 apps, We've got all of the NFT people, we've got all of these dexes, we've got, all of these different apps which people are building in DeFi that are doing all of these other things, that staking and whatever. That's a lot more than just buying some coins and putting them there. Maybe, Bobby, this is a good sort of opportunity to talk a little bit about the NFT sort of side of things and what you've observed. Is this a new market, do you think, for you guys? Because I think for so long, hardware wallets focused on the people that wanted to use exchanges, get the coins, and then evacuate it to a hardware wallet. But now there's all of these, hundreds of thousands, millions of new people that have come into crypto recently that only know crypto through NFTs. That's all they know. Is this maybe a focus for you guys? And maybe that's a new sort of growth opportunity as well.
Yeah, we think that NFT market is definitely a new point to growth. Like you said, a lot of people come into this world just only because they like NFT, and then they don't care about what Bitcoin is, or they don't care about other tokens. They just want to keep the NFT and store somewhere they want. So that's the reason why we also have a feature of displaying NFT on our hardware wallet. So users can display the NFT on our hardware wallet, and then the device can recognize the NFT in this wallet. And then you can pick the one you want to display on the splash screen. So that's the thing that we made for those NFT users. And right now, this feature is available for Solana NFT and Ethereum as well. So yeah, like I said, this is the feature we made for NFT because we want to grab not only token holders, but also those NFT holders as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think a lot of people would say that crypto is too difficult. This was one thing that I heard a lot, right? And it was, it's too difficult. New people don't understand. They're not going to use a wallet and this kind of thing. But actually what we saw was all of these NFT people, they went straight to self-custody. They went straight to using a browser extension and understanding the words and the backups and typing passwords and that sort of thing. They didn't go to exchanges, which I think is something that we saw in 2017, right? It was all about people going on Binance and buying coins. But all of these new people that have come into it, they're straight to self-custody. So I think it's super cool to see that you guys are catering to that, and that you see that as a growth potential. I think, like we mentioned before, the Solana ecosystem has a lot going on in the NFT world. In most cases, it's either number one or number two in volume, for the NFT world. So I think a lot of NFT people that are perhaps new to crypto might be learning about hardware wallets for the first time, which is great to see as well. So we're now into a new year. We've put FTX and all of the horribleness behind us last year, but we're on into 2023. What's your plans at Keystone, Lixin? What's the new year looking like for you? Like, what are you trying to do? Is there any new features that are coming out? Is there any new, interesting things which you can talk about, or just sort of general sort of strategy and plans for 2023?
So I think for 2023, the first important thing is that we're going to develop our next generation hardware. And hopefully we can release that at the end of the year. So for our next generation hardware, one of the most important thing is that we're working on cost down for the hardware wallet. And our 50th anniversary is coming, February the 1st. And in the past 5 years, we can clearly see that hardware wallet penetration is going higher and higher. Just like you said, some of the users, they're directly getting into self-custody rather than getting into the space through exchanges. So self-custody is going to the mass users quickly. And price is a very important thing for mass adoption of hardware wallet. So that's the first thing we're working on. The second thing we're working on is that previously we were mostly working on English speaking countries. But right now, for other non-English speaking countries, there's a big trend that those users, they're getting more educated about self-custody, like English speaking countries like the States, the UK. And those users, they also need a hardware wallet. So we're also trying to put more resources for our product localization to serve those countries like Korea, Brazil, Argentina, and all of them are big countries for crypto, because those countries, most of them are more developing countries. So they don't have a very robust money system in their countries, especially for countries like Argentina. So a lot of users in those countries, they want to get into crypto. And that also echoes with our strategy that we're trying to develop a cheaper product, which can fit in those kind of market. So that's also something we're working on. And also this year, we're also trying to expand the team. We're hiring globally from different countries, especially for penetration in different countries and penetration in different community. And unlike other projects, I think some of the projects they're laying down because it's a bear market. But we strongly feel that the bear market is a good time to build consensus with those strong believers. I believe that maybe in the bull market, you'll be super busy with those on-chain applications. But in the bear market, people are getting into infrastructure layer. People are thinking about hardware wallet, like security, how we manage our data, this kind of infrastructure layer building stuff. So I think bear market is a super good time for us to build a consensus. And then in the bull market, we can grow our user or something like that. So we're like running super fast for building, and our team, we're pretty hyped for the bear market.
Absolutely, and I think that's a really good point. Like we've seen these cycles happen before, right? And the people that are building during bear markets, they are the ones which see the takeoff when things come around.
Yeah. Uniswap started in 2018,
Exactly.
which is the most bear market.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's really cool to see the focus on emerging markets. And that's something I've spoken about a lot. The amount of documentation and just discussion on a lot of these topics, there's a lot of this in English language, but maybe not so much in other languages around the world. Like, for us at Step, Turkey's our number 2 market. And how much discussion is there in Turkish on hardware wallets? I dare say probably not as much as is in English language, right? So, but Turkey's a massive market. 24 million people here have an exchange account, which is just huge, and it's ubiquitous throughout everywhere. So I think that's a really good example of being able to reach new communities that are massive, perhaps just starting to learn about self-custody and hardware wallets. We're almost out of time, but I might just say, where can people go to find out more about Keystone? Do you have Twitter, website? Where should people go?
Yeah, our Twitter handle is Keystone Hardware Wallet, KEYSTONE, Keystone Wallet is our Twitter handle. And you can go to our website, which is keystone.one, which is put a dot between KEYST and ONE, Keystone. Put a dot in the word of Keystone. So that's our website. And also you can find out most of the information on Twitter. And by the way, our 5th anniversary is coming. So you can wait for that. And you can also join our activity on Twitter. Yeah, you can find information about us. Yeah.
Congratulations on the 5th anniversary. That's great. So go check them out. Like I said, I've tried a lot of wallets. I have a lot of wallets. And I mean, I'll say right now, I think it's the best experience on Solana. Straight up. Like, it's tying this with Solflare and being able to use QR codes, I think is really cool. It's a unique spin on things. And I said that even before this interview. So I'm not just saying it because of now. I tweeted it out. So, but no, I really do think it's, you guys have got something unique going there, which is really cool to see. So go check them out, go to the website, take a look. And thank you so much for being on the podcast today, Lixin and Bobby. It's been a pleasure. And we'll be sure to put links down below of everywhere to go. But have a great rest of the new year, and we'll talk again soon, no doubt.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.